Welcome back to Rubberducking Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Charles.
I'm your co-host, Mike.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
That's right.
So, Mike, I'm not sure if you know this,
Uh-huh.
but YouTube is now using AI to give content creators detailed ideas for videos.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, like,
okay.
since we both, you're more of like an AI, right? So I
Sure.
wanted to share an idea that YouTube AI gave me for video,
Yeah.
and you have to rate YouTube's performance.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Ready?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay, so it has two parts.
Okay.
So first part, so it says a glimpse into a bygone life. It says introduction and initial reflection on the escape from North Korea and my new life, right? It's saying his new life.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
And then shares about his childhood and the reason he left North Korea.
Uh-huh.
Well, what do you think so far?
Okay. Well, I mean, that just tells us that we've been doing the right thing because we already did that.
Right?
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Second part. Journey of recollection.
All right.
Right? Visiting his former school. Describing the strict regime and the limited opportunities for learning.
Wow. Okay. So what just happened here is that YouTube just recommended is like, hey Charles, why don't you go back and visit the school in back in North Korea?
I was like,
Yeah. Okay.
so this is like second time YouTube has recommended me that you should go back to North Korea. Basically.
Wow. Well, I mean, folks, you heard it here, not first probably, but the AI clearly has limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's more. There's more. Returning to his childhood home, reflecting on simple life his family led, and the memories associated with it. Simple life, basically.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
And walking through the streets of his old neighborhood, experiencing the stark contrast between his past and present life.
I mean, okay.
what do
I
you
mean,
think?
yeah. It's just like that's so interesting. One of the limitations of AI is that it can only generate content based on what it's been trained on, right? Including all the human knowledge that's been out there on the internet. So on one side, yeah, it looks like whatever based on that, what is a statistically likely good content we've already done.
Yes.
Obviously, you talked about, we would love an opportunity to go back to North Korea after it's been freed, and yeah, do exactly that. But again, it seems to have quote hallucinated a little bit, in thinking that it's a place you can just visit.
Right.
That's hilarious.
I mean, I feel like it's like you can't set parameters, right? It's I feel like YouTube is like a multi-billion-dollar company, and training AI to actually just, hey, by the way, if anybody asks, like, can I go back to North Korea? Maybe.
Yeah, you would think, but Google doesn't actually
That's
care
right,
that much
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
It's usually
it's
just about
like-
the advertisers. So it's nice. And then the there goes our Google sponsorship. But right, but if the content, it helps because people created content, and on that content there will be advertiser content. So that's their revenue.
Mhm.
So as to whether the content is truly speaking, historical true or realistic true, probably not of the highest concern, and then within the limitation of the AI, but it is, and of course, and this is funny to think about. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, sure. Like, why don't you go over there and see what happens?
I'd be like, hey guys, what's up? Charles, North Korea here.
I'm a
Third
customer.
time back in North Korea.
Third time, let's go.
So this is the street that I used to walk on, and this is the North Korean defectors detention center that I used to work at for 9 months.
Yikes!
And going
yeah.
in and just like,
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So let's continue on our podcast. Well, thanks for sharing, Mike, and
Of
thanks
course.
for
No,
the
that's-
thanks
that
for the
was
broader
super
view.
entertaining, yeah.
Yeah. It's really funny. It's really funny to think about, but also at times it could be really dangerous, right?
Of
like
course,
now,
absolutely.
like YouTube is suggesting me, right, to go back to North Korea, like,
Uh-huh.
and what kind of suggestion like is this AI is making the content creators or the users do.
Oh yeah,
actually,
I mean,
right?
Think about
So
all the
it's-
content suggestions they would be getting for people who are already doing some reckless stuff or questionable, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we'll push them over the edge to doing something illegal.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
I mean,
people are trying to stick it everywhere with a lot of caution. There should really be not thinking about the biases that are involved with AI, the things that knows and doesn't. And I think it is very illuminating just from our example.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think it's just yeah, I think it's really, I think in a way dangerous, but also at the same time, AI has like a long way to go, right?
That's
It's
true.
like,
It's just starting.
it's
Yeah.
just starting, so there's a
Mhm.
long way to go. And I think maybe like possibly like the Johnny Somali was a pretty big like IRL
Yeah, can you imagine what kind of content he's getting?
right?
Suggestions.
Yeah, possibly. Well, like I can't go back to North Korea, but I can go back to South Korea. Well, not go. Well, I guess yeah, I can go to South Korea,
Mhm.
and I can go back to South Korea because I've been there once.
That's right.
So after my time at Link, I just wanted to take a break, and just go visit South Korea. So I did go to South Korea.
Oh, was this like your actual first time visiting South Korea?
That's right. It's like the very first time.
That's
actually
a big deal.
outside of the airport.
Airport, right?
Yes,
Dang.
outside of the airport, and it
Wow.
was cold, and I, it was so cold. Like I was like, how did I live here for like 16 and a half years of my life?
The California had soft.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I do remember you talking about how it was different arriving the second time, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's the first time when I arrived, it was in the airport, right? It was within the airport. I've never actually went out of the airport. And like contemplating like, oh my gosh, like when I actually, do like, when would be at the time, when I come back here, I'm gonna and have so much fun, just thinking about the life that I'll have in South Korea. And then like second time really coming back to give me 1 second. So we've got a commenter on our YouTube live stream.
Okay.
Just wanted to give you a shout out, Lazy Lizzie. We got 2 questions, and the first question is games kids play if had time. And second question they asked was tell the history of Korea pre-war. I'll get to that in a minute. I'll get to that, but let me explain a couple of things because here's a little fun kind of a thing that it happened in my life first. So after Korea, so after coming back from Korea, because I lived in Korea for February of December of 2018 through February 14th, after so 16th, possibly February 16th.
That was when you were in Korea?
In South Korea.
Whoa,
yeah.
that was a little while then.
Wow.
Wow.
It was a long time. I've stayed there for quite a while. And I've been to Gyeongbokgung, and all those kind of touristy stuff, Isunsin Janggun,
Nice. Yeah, that's right.
and Gobukseon. It was kind of really weird because I've been hearing about South Korea and North Korea, right?
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that Gyeongbokgung, for example, North Korea has something very similar too.
Oh, interesting.
Whereas there in Sariwon there is a mountain called Gyeongamsan. And within that Gyeongamsan, North Korean regime tried to create the historical artifacts, right? It's like a temples, not temples, like a kungs,
Right, it's a palace.
The palace and like a paintings of the olden days, and the shige, the watch that is made out of
the sun clock.
The sun clock,
Okay.
the Korean people used it, I guess, back in the days. And looking at
sundial. Sorry, sundial is the right name for this.
Sun clock.
Well, I'm just trying to mentally translate that from Korean to.
What is it?
But that's what it's called in Korea. Heshige. Was it called heshige?
Heshige.
Yeah, that's right. That translates to sun
heshige
clock.
and moreshige. Sand clock.
Really, the hourglass?
Yeah,
that is not one of the historical artifacts, though. I don't think that was invented in Korea.
Oh no! I'm so sorry, but a literal translation is moreshige, right? Sand clock. That's what it's called, moreshige. In Korean, if you translate that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You just give an example.
Clock,
gotcha.
Right? Yeah, just an example.
Okay.
looking at like it almost felt like looking at the history, two
Uh-huh.
different places. Like it came to me like a really close, and it came to me like it became real, right? Like looking at like the
Mm.
기화장s, like the traditional, like the
Yeah,
nice
the
like a
buildings.
기화장s,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And like 이순신 장군, like I don't think 이순신 장군 was pretty big in North Korea. He's like a general who like defeated like Japanese with,
Invasion. Yeah.
invasion. Yeah, it was pretty big. So it's really big in South Korea.
He's huge. He's one of the biggest war heroes, not only actually in Korean history, but he's also quite well celebrated and respected general or admiral, really, admiral, the Navy admiral across different people who study battle tactics.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
I see.
but I understand in North Korea, like you can't have a hero that's bigger, right?
Than Kim Jong-un? Or-
Exactly.
Yeah, so they're trying to make these kind of people really less. Though Tangun, he's pretty big.
Oh, because he's kind of a legendary character that may or may not have existed in real life.
Oh,
I think that's
interesting.
part of it. I mean, because clearly the Kim family didn't exist from the beginning of time. But
Right.
Tangun, who's supposedly the founder of Chosun, right?
Right,
or,
yeah.
or the OG Chosun, like it had to come from somewhere. So I think celebrating him actually gives a little bit of a legitimacy to celebrating some of the Kim family, because how they came from this like
Yeah, right.
mystical, birth stories. There's
Yeah,
some mirrors,
yeah.
right, and similarities there.
Yeah, so they wanted to kind of like rope, his story into like Tangun's.
That's
and kind
right,
Of like,
yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So it was fascinating. Like I did see like a glimpse of like my, like the past kind of like
Interesting.
like a life, like when I was looking at those kind of old like traditional artifacts.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was pretty mild. It's like a small New York almost. As I was mentioning that,
right.
it felt like a cleaner version of New York.
At least it was clean.
Right,
Yeah.
very clean. Like
Mhm.
Subway, it's like it didn't smell like pee.
Uh-huh.
It was very nice. um, so I didn't mention that while I was working at Link, I didn't get paid, right? So
That's right.
everything that paying for my meals, like I had to spend my own money to do so, and living in Korea for 2 months without working, right?
Yeah.
And living with now my wife, staying with her, it's kind of like I basically ran out of all the money,
Mhm.
and and at that point I came back to the States.
Uh-huh.
And I had no idea what I was gonna do, right? Like for the past like 2 years almost. Right?
Uh-huh. So at this point you're not with Link anymore? Is
not
that right?
anymore.
Okay.
Right. I'm not with the Link anymore.
Uh-huh.
I am out of job, and I mean not that I ever got paid. And
right.
like I honestly have nowhere to stay. But I mean, at least when I was at Link, I got a housing, right? So I could go back to a place where I can live. But now
that's right. Whoa.
I have nothing. Like literally, I'm like I have my suitcase and that's it.
Wow. So where are you? Like, are you in the Bay Area?
I'm in the Bay Area now. So
Okay.
now I came back to Bay Area because there was before I went to go work at Link. I had this community of friends who.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if I mentioned I have 3 North Korean brothers. Well, I mean like not blood related, but
Right.
like I met them in Thailand. I did remember mentioning them possibly. Well, sorry.
I mean, there were a few people that you met along the way, but
Right, in Thailand.
it's not the shoe thief, right?
No, shoot if no.
Okay.
Do you know Michael, John, and Jaden?
I don't know if you mentioned them.
Oh
no.
my gosh. Okay.
Well, now they get some,
all right.
yeah.
So let's introduce Michael, 문철, 봉철, 하진이. So that's
Okay.
their names.
Uh-huh.
When I was in Thailand, so I was in the international refugee camp first, and then these 3 North Korean kids comes along, and their ages are like 10, 12, and like 15.
Oh, they're actual, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, you
actually,
were a
like,
kid too,
literally-
but they're
Yeah,
even
literally
younger
like
than you.
kids,
Uh-huh.
right? And then I met him in Thai prison.
Uh-huh.
I met him in Thai, international refugee camp. And then I came to America first, and then I resettled in California, which
Mhm.
is the San Jose.
Right.
And then 6 months later, these kids came to America as well, and same place, San Jose. And in fact, we
Whoa.
resettled in the same like a resettlement agency as well.
Oh,
It's the
interesting.
Catholic Charity of
Yeah.
Santa Clara County. And yeah, these kids, I mean, they're now they're young adults. Like I think John works at Tesla now.
Oh, wow.
And excuse me. And I'm not sure what. Oh, Jaden, which is the youngest, right? So he's like, he was 10, but now he's well over 20 now. It's like 22, 23, something like that. And he works as like a security guard, I think. And then Michael, who is, I don't know where he is right now, but he's somewhere in the southern state. But I hung out with them a lot, like every weekend, right? I don't know, we're just reminiscing about, like there's like things that we shared, a common,
Oh, absolutely.
it's like literally having, like, it feels like having a brother, right?
I bet.
But all of them have like really tragic stories. Like someday I'm gonna introduce you to those three kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully to our RDP loyal listeners as well.
Yeah.
And when I came back to that community again. You remember the one Nuna that I was telling you about, like the one, like a person, one sister who introduced me to driving school.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So I came back to her place, and she let me crash at her place for a while. And then she helped me, Michael, Jaden, John, 4 of us get housing.
Whoa, how?
So church through church. So she's like, it's really difficult. Like she was telling, because she's a believer, and she's been going to church for consistently for a while, and she's been really active in trying to help like North Korean people in this community, and she helped us find the housing. And after finding that housing, I stayed in the couch for probably like couple of like months, and I still needed to find a job, right?
Were any of your other roommates, like the North Korean roommates, were they working at this point?
No,
because they're too young, right? Are they going to school?
No, they're well over 20s.
Oh, at this point they're old enough.
Back in 28. Well, yeah, they're all over 20s. Yeah, because it's been like 7 years, 8 years. Jaden was like 19. Yeah, the youngest was 19.
I see. Yeah, and what were they doing at the time? Just looking for a job or working, school?
John was going to Dianza. And then Michael was just Peksu, not doing anything. And Jaden, he was actually like working like full time, I think. Yeah, it's like a security guard.
Oh, I see. So he started there early.
Yeah, he started his like working career really early. And then, yeah, I was like looking into LinkedIn, and that's when I really started reaching out to James, like our
our James, Mr. Steinberg, James. Wow,
that's right, James Steinberg. Because he was funded by Y Combinator like twice, and he had access to this forum where he can post like, like this. There's a developer who is looking for a job. So James actually introduced me to like multiple different startup CEOs and co-founders, and I had the chance to interview with them. But unfortunately, because my coding knowledge was not, I mean, for like I graduated from coding bootcamp back in like 2017, right? And I didn't code for 2 years, and now it's like it's everything is like disappearing from my head.
Yeah, you're losing it a bit. Yeah,
and I didn't even have the chance to like prep for the interview as well. I've been just forced right into trying to apply, trying to get an interview, and I didn't like grasp the competitiveness of it.
Wow.
So I ended up not getting anything. And I did apply for multiple different like jobs, and I tried to apply for jobs that are pretty like, like I used to raise funds, and I raised like $500,000 for liberty in North Korea, so I deserve like account manager, like anything that I'm like at the end of manager.
I see.
And that's exactly what I found, right?
Yeah.
I still remember I was going through the LinkedIn, and then they said account manager by Vivid California. That's the company name.
Okay.
I was like, what the heck is this? Let me just apply. And then I did apply, and I got a text back like maybe like 2 hours later.
Whoa.
right? And then they were like so excited, and this person is reaching out like with like gigantic like like text messages, and saying like, oh, like the reason why you should you should get this job and the interviews and whatnot. And then I walked in, and so it was a pyramid scheme job, and I would have to actually let you know in the next episode, because I do want to get to Lazy Lizzie.
Okay,
I do want to get to her
right.
questions. So let me get back to you on the pyramid scheme
Okay,
job.
I'll have to hear about it.
But I was desperate that I did actually apply for I didn't know that it was a pyramid scheme.
Right.
I was just looking at like account manager. So I was like, cool, manager. I'm gonna apply for a manager position. And then it turns out it was horrible. It was horrible.
Wow.
But I did learn a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
So I gotta.
I guess there was a reason why they were excited.
Right. Yeah.
I see.
It was crazy.
All right, let's hear from Lizzie.
Yes. So Lizzie says games kids play if at time. Are you saying is it North Korea or in America? Like I'm not sure.
Well, I assume North Korea.
North Korea?
Yeah, let's assume that. Sorry, please correct us if we're wrong. But what games do kids play?
Yeah. So when I was in North Korea, I mean, like I did play like Nintendo's, like like a Super Nintendos and things like that. But that's very rare occasions, right? Because like friends have that, so I would go to friends' place and play those. But a lot of times it's more traditional games like Tegi, right? Everything is like every.
Wait, hold on a second. In North Korea,
yeah,
people had video games.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Nintendo Switch. I play Nintendo Switch. Not Nintendo, but the old Super Nintendos, like where you have to blow it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. No way.
Yeah?
Some people had that.
Yeah, I
Whoa.
mean, yeah, there's like decent number of, well, not decent. I guess like in my neighborhood in Suncheon, when I was living in Suncheon, one kid had that. So like I would go there like all the time, like go to his house, and he had like a car battery too. So
running off of a car battery?
Yeah, and black and white TV.
I was gonna say, because there's electricity is not guaranteed.
That's right, and the parents.
Black and white TV.
Black and white TV. So like I'll play like a Ninja Turtles, right, and then Street Fighter.
In black and white.
Black and white. That's right.
Okay, wow. That's wild.
It was really fun, yeah, and
yeah, those are
like,
fun games, but
yeah, you have to plug in this like audio, like a like a red,
the
red, white,
RCA cables,
yeah, right, yellow, and then you have to like turn it into like a specific like channel to get the signal.
Yeah.
And like Super Mario as well.
Dang.
I used to play those, and it's very occasionally, right? It's
right, because
you
don't
every
have
day.
It's not yours.
Yeah, it's not mine. A lot of activities are held outside. A lot of like games like we like outside like really activities.
Yeah, there has to be one, right? There has to be one game that you probably played a lot with your friends.
Right. Yeah.
What was that? The top
Sasaki.
Oh, really? You're playing card games?
Yeah. So we have this a card game called Sasaki in North Korea.
That's right.
And that's one thing that you, me, and everyone can actually generalize. North Koreans knows what that is, because this is like one game that is widely played in North Korea.
If the people in my generation in South Korea all know StarCraft.
Yes, yeah.
The people of your generation in North Korea know Sasaki.
Sasaki, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Charles actually taught me how to play. So like one of these days, we would love to talk about how to play and how they can all play.
Rules,
let's spread it in the United States. It's a fun game.
Yeah. Moving on to the second question. Tell the history of Korea pre-war.
All right.
I'm not sure. Well, Mike, I'm not sure. Maybe you can take that, because I mean.
No. Hold on. Wait. So Korea has a very long history, and it's interesting because maybe to a Western. Well, if you're from Europe or if you're from UK, right, long thousands of years of history, but compared to the American history, which is like not even 300 years old, right, as a nation. It goes back so far, and all this to say that when I was taking history classes, you're literally learning like hundreds of years in a day because there's so much to cover.
Yeah.
And a lot of things just like right, like it entered my mind, but did not quite stay. But what I'm interested here is though, for Charles, North Korea, I know, right, and from what you talked about, does not teach the history in a historically accurate manner.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do want to hear from you in
Mhm,
terms
mhm.
of what did you learn,
Yeah.
right? Like, what did they tell you that how did Korea come to be? Like, so you mentioned the founder, right? But like, there's a lot of stuff that happens in
Hangul.
between, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you remember?
So yeah, that's a great question, and a lot of times, like for me, I dropped out of like school when I was like 9,
Uh-huh.
right? Because I needed to nurse my mom, so I didn't go to school. So only thing that I learned
Mm-hmm.
was Kim Il Sung and Kim Jong Il's history. So there's like 3 history books that you have to learn.
Uh-huh.
But for like higher education, like for if you go to high school, for
Yeah.
example, they learn like a history a little bit more in depth.
I see.
Um, but yeah, personally, like the way that I was taught about Korean history was like I don't remember anything before the Japanese colonial. Like the
I
things that I
see.
learned was very heavily during the Japanese colonial and Kim Il Sung's like the activities with the
Mm-hmm.
Japanese and like people like I'm not sure if you know who An Jung-gun is.
Yeah, I do. So he's the people who fought for independence
Right.
of Korea.
So
Yeah.
they're called Hangil. So it's in North Korean term. It's called Hangil Hyungmyeong Tusa.
Okay.
Right.
So anti-Japanese revolutionary fighters.
Right.
Or
Right.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So like I personally learned that like throughout my school years,
Uh huh.
and also how Kim Il Sung actually defeated the head-to-toe armed Japanese,
Uh huh.
right, while fighting in the mountains.
Yeah.
Um, no, yeah. So that's what I
Right.
learned, right?
I
and
see.
and anything like when I came to like, so I would watch like Im Gok-jung. You know what Im Gok-jung?
I do.
And
I do.
Hong Kil-dong?
Hong Kil-dong I know, but that's Hong Kil-dong is a fictional character.
I see.
Yeah. So here, okay. So I do see. So to make it a kind of an apples to apples comparison, even before I got to say middle school or whatever, or upper levels in elementary, there were these like history books that you could read, but because I was a kid, right? Like history comic books that you can read to learn
Mhm.
about different parts of Korea. So Korea, one thing I would say about the Korean history, again, really long history, but it's always been a distinct culture, language, and a nation. Sometimes it would be split into different states
Mhm.
or different kingdoms, but it was still that peninsula had a very unified and distinct culture from China
Mhm.
and Japan separately.
Yeah. Yeah.
And many kingdoms came and come, but
Right.
the two really long lasting ones included Chosun, that was right before the Japanese colonial era, and then there was
백제신라.
so there was a tri-state era as well. So the Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla, and then Goryeo was another big unified nation. So,
Yeah.
like these things again, like I have like next to nothing knowledge, but at least these things are somewhat familiar concepts. I know that and also there are a lot of fictional historical fictional dramas that you can watch.
Right,
Like, that's
right.
probably where I learned a lot about these kind of pre-war, like almost to the American perspective, like an ancient history.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, how did you have any of that in North Korea?
I had zero idea. So when I first came to China, right, my dad had a dish TV, like satellite TV,
Yeah.
and we're actually getting South Korean programs
Oh,
on it.
that's right.
And MBC and SBS. SBS?
Yeah, SBS. Mhm.
And they would like my dad would like loved watching like historical dramas.
Yeah, those
so
are
like
fun.
광개토 태왕,
That's
and
right.
like 뿌리 깊은 나무,
Oh.
or like all those, and I'm watching like Jonah, like what the hell? What is that? Why do you call people Jonah?
Oh.
Right? And what is Shilla? What is Baekje?
Wow.
Like the clothes.
So you
that
never
these
even
people,
heard of these countries
I've
or
never heard about.
so
that
culture before like
Japanese
the pre-war
colonial.
Japanese colonial era is really not taught then.
No,
not talked about
zero.
much. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's not talked about at all. Like only thing that I know is like Goguryeo, right? Because like
Mm.
because of 소년 장수, Boy General, there is a show called Boy General that actually was held during the Goguryeo era.
I have a
right?
guess as to why that might be, because the
Tri-state.
one of the kings, yeah, during that era, Goguryeo was a northern territory that currently occupied by North Korea, but also a little bit of the Chinese territory.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it used to be part of Korean territory.
Korea's
as part of the
territory.
Yeah, that's why the North Korea is probably a little bit interested in that part of history, trying to make
Mm,
claims. Maybe
Yeah,
we used to be a bigger country once. Yeah,
yeah, a much more like stronger state too.
Yeah,
possibly.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so I that's like basically what I learned, and you know, yeah, kids that are like at least like 9, right? Great. Like when I was 9, like kids from that age and possibly beyond, like until you go to like high school, right? Like you don't learn histories.
I see. So
Yeah.
you don't talk about that. You
Well-
don't know what people looked like, were talked about. Wow. Not even Chosun? Like kings, like for example, King
I mean,
Sejong.
Joseon is right now. We call it Joseon. We don't call it Bukhan.
Right. Okay, wait. I should clarify the Chosun, right? Bukhan. So the North Korea does call themselves Chosun, which is it was a kingdom that lasted 500 years right before the colonial era.
Right, 조선민주주의인민공화국. Right.
Yeah, that's right. Before that was just regular Chosun.
Regular. What do you mean regular Joseon?
The name of the country was Chosun.
Okay.
And then they put the North Korea in front of it and democratic in front of it, ironically enough, and peoples, right? Yeah. But anyhow, but what about King Sejong?
I don't know.
No,
I've never heard
they
about Sejong.
dropped King Sejong. That's
I've never
wild.
heard about him.
Well, King Sejong is a guy who, but for the listeners, who came up with the Hangul. Right. They never talked about this writing system we have. There's somebody who came up with it. That's a travesty.
Yeah,
That's
no.
okay. Wow.
Well, I mean, maybe I shouldn't generalize it. Maybe people heard about him.
Okay,
Maybe
I see.
in a higher education system you
I
learn
see.
about him.
But
right?
it's not like a common knowledge.
No, but it's not.
I mean,
not at
somebody
least
like
to
King
me.
Sejong is like a common child's
Right,
hero.
it's like 7, like
That's
6,
right, but
in
he's,
kindergarten.
But then that would compete with Kim. So
That's
I
right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Nah,
So
shame.
I mean, the only history that we have is again like Kim Il Sung and Kim Jong Il's history.
Mhm.
Like, and there are like 3 textbooks, right? I mean, like even like from from going like 7 until like 12, like you have to take one each, right?
And
So
but you
there's
have to like
1,
perfectly
2, 3,
memorize.
4. Yes, yeah. You have to like remembering like what happened during when Kim. This is a history test. When did Kim Il Sung cross the Amnokgang to start his anti-Japanese like? So there's a history, like there's like a quiz, right?
Okay, so you have to know the date.
I have to know like not the date, but how old was he?
Oh.
Like how old was
wow.
Kim
Right. I forget. Like North Korea also uses the.
Juche.
That's right. Different
like
date system, which is centered
right.
around their leader. So of
1990,
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
No,
Wow.
it's like a 주체 93, like 2005년, or 주체
Yeah, I have a
94.
story about that actually. So when I visited North Korea, right back to when South North Korea were doing, trying to be a little friendly there, and had an opportunity to visit. I remember buying 탄산 단물 soda, soda in North Korea at a touristy site at the base of the mountain. I looked at the date and I was like, "Yo, this is like way expired. Like, why are they selling this?" But it was because I think it was written probably in Juche.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's their own date system. That's why it was like
94. What?
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I knew that North Korea was not doing well, but they're drinking sodas. They're like 15 years old.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's hilarious. I mean, it makes sense. It's like really confused too. It's like, wait,
Yeah,
what?
I was confused.
92? Like what?
Yeah, it tasted good,
Yeah.
but the dates were weird. Yeah.
Yeah, they have their own calendar system, and yeah, I didn't know what BC was, and like.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like a before Common Era, right?
Yeah,
like,
BCE.
Yeah, like partially it's because like the North Korean education system does not teach you that. And also like people don't really we're not focusing on like science, or
right. It's
like,
all about the
survival,
glorification of the regime
and also survival.
I mean, you call
too.
it history, Kim's history, right? And that's of course what they call it, but it really isn't really technically history either. It's just mostly fiction.
Yeah, it's just made up stories of like, oh yeah, Kim Il Sung was born in like North Korea, and when he was like, I don't even know where he was born. And Kim Jong Il was he was born in Russia, but they actually twisted that as
right.
like
deep in the mountains of Baekdu.
Yeah, Mount Baekdu, and when he was born, there was a star that is
right, some biblical theme stolen, and so on and so
forth. I really hope that answered your question, Lizzie. And the last question was, what was your favorite thing that that I wished kept that I lost? That's an interesting question. Like, what was my favorite thing that I wished I kept but I lost? Possibly when I escaped North Korea. Like, maybe it's in North Korea, right?
Yeah.
I really, really, really wish I had like my mom's picture.
Oh. Wow.
Like I have one picture of her, but that was a picture of a picture.
I
right?
see. So it's not a physical thing.
And my dad actually cut off her face.
Dang it. Yeah.
And I just like, I don't have it. So I
Uh-huh.
really wish that
Mm.
like I kept my mom's picture.
Wow. Do you think
Yeah.
there may be some relatives, if North Korea opens back up, who may be holding on to that?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, possibly.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah.
that's really sweet, Charles. That's really sweet, but also sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty sad. Yeah. You know, and when I was working at Link, on my birthday, one couple of the Link interns, they actually drew like my mom's face on top of the picture of a picture.
Oh.
And they gave it to me. And that was like the
That's so
sweetest
sweet.
gift that
Wow.
I've ever got from
Wow.
anybody.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was so wholesome, and it was really touching.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's it for today.
Yeah.
For next week, we're gonna go live at the same time next week, and hopefully we get to talk about the pyramid scheme.
Can't wait to hear about that.
Yes, yeah, man, it was crazy. It was insane. It was crazy. Yeah, well, thank you so much, listeners, for joining in. I hope to see you guys next week.
Yeah. Thank you, listeners. Bye.
Bye bye.